Host Rob Smith, thank you both for coming on. Brianna, to you first. The theme here, the overall overreaching theme, is a little bit of Democratic anxiety. Here is CNN. Watch this and we'll get your response.
What's also creeping in now is that anxiety. The reason for that is because these polls are not really moving, despite multiple battleground blitzes. One source described it to me this way, quote, people are nervous. They know the polls are tight. And a lot of us are having these flashbacks to 2016, too. We know when it can go the wrong way, and it can still feel fresh.
It's interesting because, you know, at that sugar high, when the convention was up here, it was like, woo, woo, we got the vibe. And now it's come down, and boy, it is kind of flatlining.
Yeah, you're seeing that media manufactured enthusiasm for Kamala Harris waning. And I think most people understood you always needed something to supplement that enthusiasm created by the media to drag her across the finish line. And when you think about Hillary Clinton, you know, the reason she lost, she could not turn out black voters, Latino voters, or young voters.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris faces that very same issue. The only difference is that this go-around, Democrats have a very well-oiled machine to bring ballots into the boxes that Hillary Clinton didn't have.
Yeah. James Carville, you know, sometimes he gets a little dramatic, Rob, because but when James Carville's down, he's kind of, you know, the whole party is going that way.
Yeah.
He said the following.
The election's coming November 5th, and I'm scared to death. And I think she and the whole campaign needs to be much more aggressive and much less passive than they are.
The problem is when Kamala Harris gets aggressive, we see even these softball interviews, she tends to make mistakes.
Yeah, she does. Look, Kamala Harris went from brat to flat, right? So the entire media tour has been a flop. I mean, the more people see of her, the less that they like of her. And it's very interesting. You know that James Carville is correct that this campaign is flatlining, because if it were going well, if all of that propaganda in the media and all of that stuff that gave her that bump at the very beginning were still working, she would not be doing these interviews. The more people see of her, the less that they like her.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now to that 60 Minutes interview, very controversial with Kamala Harris, the fact that they deceptively edited, many would say. Michael Schellenberger was on earlier, and he said this about CNN.
I don't see how CBS gets away with not releasing the transcript. I mean, as a journalist, I'm happy to, you know, when you do a full interview, you're happy to release the full transcript. You should be happy to release it. That's a big part of journalistic ethics.
Yeah, and sometimes you really do have to lay it all out there, because if you're taking some third question stuff and putting it in the second question, it is not right.
Right, but that's the standard if you're a journalist. CBS is part of a propaganda machine. You know, it used to be career suicide if you would produce a story on a candidate in the midst of an election season using manufactured or inaccurate information. Just ask Dan Rather in 2004 or George Bush. Now it's become editorial standard to boost their candidate of choice.
Yeah, and listen, I would say, you know, I'm not